So today we're going to be looking at The Yellow Wallpaper by Charlotte Gilman. Now, before we do that, I just want to let you guys know that I am currently accepting students for English lessons. So you can apply just on the website schoolforgeniuses.com, and you can see we have a 93% pass rate. Many of the students from last year, before they worked with me, they were predicted a D, predicted a fail, and then after a number of lessons, maybe a month, 2 months, 3 months, they managed to walk away, a lot of them with A's and B's, or at the very least a pass, yeah. And just in terms of a little review from one of my students, one of my customers, you can see that people are quite happy. Now we're going to go into the actual text breakdown itself. So essentially there are three, and I should say in terms of the English lessons, the link will be in the description. Yeah, just click on the link in the description. It'll take you straight to the what you need to know, yeah, the booking form and all that kind of stuff. Okay, so in terms of the actual text itself, so it's a short story, obviously. The general story, okay, the general story is that this couple go to this this house, this mansion. So the general story is this couple go to this sort of mansion, this old house, and essentially the narrator, the lady who's speaking, she slowly begins to lose her mind until in the end, and now at the end you have some different interpretations you can take. So I've given you three, okay? Now obviously if you're doing this text, you should be taking notes, yeah? So first interpretation is that the narrator slowly loses her mind, sees ghosts in the walls, as she's trapped in the bedroom by her controlling / not listening husband. So it's just basically she loses her mind, and then by the end she's completely lost it. Essentially, she's completely gone. So there's no real ghosts; it's just imagination. That's one interpretation. That's the first one. Okay, second one is, excuse me, the second one is that it's a ghost narrating the story as if she's living. So it's a ghost the whole time. And then in the end, she reveals that she's a ghost. So there's no real woman, it's just a ghost the whole time. That's the second interpretation. The third interpretation is that the narrator slowly loses her mind. That's the third one right here. Slowly loses her mind due to being trapped. She's kept in her room by either a controlling husband or a husband who doesn't listen to her, who doesn't believe her that she's not well. And then she becomes the ghost because of her being trapped there. So you can decide essentially which, excuse me, you can decide essentially which interpretation you think is right, which one you sort of believe the most, and go with that one, okay? So that's the overall story. Okay, now next is the sort of key themes in the text. And just remember, themes means what the text talks about. So a theme is just another way of saying, what is this text talking about? What is it concerned with? What are like the main excuse me, what are like the main ideas in the text? That's what a theme is, essentially. Okay, so there's a couple themes in the text. Okay, one is deteriorating mental health. Just basically means that the woman slowly is sort of losing her mind. She's slowly sort of falling into like delusion, or she's slowly falling into insanity, something like that. Okay, then another key theme would be the blurring between reality and imagination. So in the text, you'll see that the woman, she talks in a way that she's describing the real world, reality, the house and everything. And then she'll slide in there sort of things which are like paranormal, or like not real or not normal. And she'll say them in like a very casual way. Like she'll talk about the wallpaper, how she sees faces and eyes and things like that. While at the same time then describing things normally. So there's like reality, and then there's like imagination, things that are made up. Excuse me. So there's like reality, and then there's like imagination, and then but the way that she speaks sort of blurs the line between reality and imagination, and that's another key theme, yeah, key idea in the text. Okay, another key idea in the text or key theme is the idea of unhealthy relationships. Obviously, the primary one would be between the woman, the narrator, and sort of her husband, who she says to him that she's not well, that she doesn't want to be in the room all day because it's making her crazy. But he says, no, I know better because I'm a doctor, so you must stay in the room. And because of that, she slowly loses her mind, yeah? So there's one sort of unhealthy relationship. Another unhealthy relationship would be the woman, and now if you take the interpretation that the ghost is real, it would be the woman and the ghost, in that she, the ghost is also a sort of another pathway that makes the woman lose her mind. So it's not a healthy relationship. It's not like Casper the ghost and that little girl, I forgot her name, Wendy. It's not like that. It's more like she slowly becomes slowly the idea of the ghost or the ghost itself slowly takes over her, corrupt and like destroys her mind kind of idea, something like that, yeah. So unhealthy relationships. You could also say an unhealthy relationship with reality, which again would refer back to the idea of like the blurring of reality. Okay, and then finally, the last sort of key idea, key theme would be the paranormal. Paranormal just means not normal, outside of normal, which is obviously referring to the ghosts and things which happen, which are not ordinary, not normal yet, like the ghost stuff and all that stuff, yeah, basically. Okay. Okay, good. Okay, now what I have here is, and what I will do is I'll link this document for you guys, but at the same time, do take your own notes, because if you take your own notes, it's part of the process of like understanding what the text is talking about. So it's not enough just to basically say I've got notes here. That's not very good in terms of actually learning. Yeah, you want to take your own notes so that it will be in your own words, basically, which means it will be like yours, yeah. So it's not just that you've been given something, but you've actually taken part in the process, yeah. You want to do that. You want to take part, that's how you learn, yeah. Okay. Okay, so now what I've got basically is sort of the key. Excuse me. Now what I've got is sort of the key. I've zoomed in on those quotes which speak about the wallpaper and which speak about her sort of slowly losing her mind. So we'll begin here, and what I've done is I've sort of underlined like the key words. What I will get to at the end is sort of a little essay plan that you can use. Okay, so here we start with the opening sentence. Now, when you're approaching a text, I think I've said this before, but when you're approaching a new text and you're not sure where to look, where to study, it's very, very good in terms of strategy to go to the opening line and to break that down as much as you can, the opening paragraph even, and to also go to the final paragraph, the final line, and to break that down as much as you can. Because when writers are writing their books, the stories, they'll spend a lot of time, maybe most of their time, on these two places, yeah? Okay, anyway, so we start, so here's one quote that you could use. It basically speaks about, it introduces you to the house. Very seldom means something that doesn't happen often. So we're already told that the story is going to be related to an event or events which are out of the ordinary, yeah, which aren't normal, basically, which is a sort of hint to what's to come. She also describes herself as a mere ordinary person. There's different ways that you could look at this. One way is just basically to say that this makes her like more relatable to the reader, which would mean that he can or she can feel more sympathy, more connection, etc., etc. And then you got the idea of ancestral halls. So it makes the reader think, whose ancestors, meaning who used to own this house, who is it connected to. It also tells you that it's like an old house, which obviously has connections to paranormal, ghosts, etc., etc. Yeah. And then finally, it's very interesting or sort of strange that she picks the month of, not the month, she picks the season of summer to sort of host a ghost story, which is very interesting in itself. And sort of the way you could think about it is it makes the story even more disturbing in a way, because it's not something that's expected yet. Again, summertime is usually associated with like nice things, happy things, parties, all that kind of stuff, not with ghosts or death or insanity or paranormal activity, etc. So it adds like more impact in terms of the disturbing nature of the story, something like that, yeah. Okay, now I'm not gonna go through obviously every quote because that'll make the video take like an hour, but I'm just gonna give you like maybe a few more sort of general ideas, and then you can like go through the rest of it sort of yourself here, just apply the skills that you've learned. Yeah. Okay. So this is here talking about essentially her being trapped in the room now. She's her husband basically has her like lie down all the time. He's got like a very set, strict schedule for her. She needs to take certain chemicals, certain medicines. If they are medicines, I don't know, but she has to take certain things at different times. She's on like a strict regimen, and she can't leave the room yet. Essentially, she's made to like lie down a lot. She starts off by saying that she really hates the room, especially the wallpaper, and that it's something to do with. And she also mentions that children hated it. And then eventually she slowly begins to like the room, and she really begins to like love the room, and especially she begins to love the wallpaper. So as she travels through the story, starts off, as she said, ordinary. She starts off normal, like you and me. Excuse me. Then she goes slowly into like her madness, losing her mind. And as that happens, she begins to like the room, the wallpaper more and more. So you could take that as a sort of marker for the loss of her sort of sanity. Is the more she likes the wallpaper, the less sort of in touch with reality she is, or another way, the more sort of she's moving towards becoming a ghost or something like that, yeah? Okay. So finally we have like the last scene. I would encourage you to spend a lot of time breaking this last scene down. I'd say this is probably the key scene, or one of the key scenes in the text. And again, I'll put a link to this document in the description, and so you can spend time breaking down each of these quotes. Now, if you're doing this at a higher level, I would recommend you try to break down every word in the sentence. Yeah, make that a challenge for yourself. So take these quotes now. So we'll look at the little essay plan that I made. And this is based on the third interpretation, which is basically she loses her mind and then becomes a ghost, yeah? So her sort of descent into madness is so intense that it forces her to not only lose her mind, but also to sort of lose herself in terms of her physical self, and she sort of becomes a ghost. Excuse me. Okay, the alternative is her madness is so strong, that the descent is so strong, that she becomes a ghost of her past self, meaning she's not literally a ghost, like see-through thing, but she's like sort of not herself at all anymore, like completely lost who she was, and she's no longer that person, yeah, something like that. Okay, so it's broken down into sort of 4 main paragraphs. You have your introduction, your conclusion, and then 4 main paragraphs in between. P means point, i.e. what's the point of the paragraph? What is it talking about? Q obviously is quote, so I've got 2 quotes, point, and then also you've got R, which means reader's sort of reaction. Okay, so just very quickly, I'll go through this with you. So start off your essay, obviously after your introduction. Refer to the video on my channel about how to write an introduction if you don't know. It's in the essay video, yeah, how to write a critical essay. Okay, so in terms of the first paragraph, what you want to talk about is you want to sort of describe, you want to break down the description of the house. You want to say at the beginning of the text, we get an introduction to the house. And this sets up the main themes of, you could say, the relationship, since it's John, i.e. her husband, who chooses the house and who makes her stay there, so that indicates a sort of controlling relationship, something like that. Or she also mentions that the house is sort of not normal, something like that. And that relates to sort of like the idea that the story is not normal, the idea of like paranormal story, something like that. You get the point, yeah, something like that. Okay. So, and then after, and you could tell the story a little bit. In the story, we see how she loses her mind, whatever. Yeah, okay. Then after that, what you want to do, and not too much, yeah, just a little bit, sentence or two, something like that. Okay. Then you get to the quotes, and I've also put the technique for you. WC means word choice, SS means sentence structure. Those are the two sort of main ones for the quotes I've given. Again, just break it down how I mentioned before. Seldom means not often, etc., etc. Like I just mentioned, yeah. Haunted is pretty simple. Haunted relates to ghosts, etc., etc. You get the point. Okay, and then when it comes to the reader's reaction, this first sort of part of the text makes the reader think, what is the house really like? Who are these people? Whose ancestors? Who used to own the house before? It makes them interested in the story. You could say something like that, yeah? Introduces the themes, that kind of idea. Okay. And then in the second paragraph, what you want to talk about is how it starts introducing the idea of the main character, the narrator, sort of slowly losing her mind because she's trapped in the room and she really hates it. Again, WC is word choice, so just break down these words. Okay, now one sort of thing you could focus on, besides what I've mentioned before, is the idea of the children hating the room / wallpaper. And you could focus on the idea that children are a sort of symbol of purity or goodness. And so if they hate something, if they are pushed away from something, if they run from something, then it indicates that there is some kind of monster or some kind of evil there. Children run from monsters, they run from evil things, they run from dark things. It implies that there are evil things, there are dark things in the room, yeah? That's the idea. Okay, and again, you take this. Okay, and then paragraph 3, it's the idea that now she's losing her mind even more. She's trapped in the room, but now it's not that she hates it. She actually begins to really like the room / wallpaper, to the point that she becomes obsessed with it. And again, just take the word choice / sentence structure, and you can break it down. Yeah, so I'm getting really fond of the room. I like the room a lot. And because of the wallpaper, full stop indicates certainty, means that she is sure that she loves this wallpaper. Yes, she loves the room, she loves the wallpaper, so she's like transitioned. You could think of this as like a transition point from where she was to where she will be. She's no longer sort of the person that she was at the start. Now she's moving towards this ghost or this insane person, something like that, yeah? And then here you have an indication, not alive, sort of reference either to that she would kill someone if they touched the wallpaper, or that she herself is going to be a ghost, or that it's only ghosts, something like that, that can touch the wallpaper. Yeah, something like that. Okay. And this creates a sort of idea of you, the reader, being like afraid. Like it's a bit of a disturbing read. They're kind of disturbed by it, or that they might have sympathy for the narrator. They might feel sorry for her. Is she okay? She's lost it and she's trapped in a room. She needs help, etc., etc. Yeah. Okay, and finally, we have the end scene. And here you see that she is essentially completely gone and her mind is completely lost. Now she is either a ghost, literally, i.e. she's like the floaty thing with the, see-through and all that kind of stuff. She's the ghost. Or she has lost her mind, yeah. So she's a ghost of her past self, metaphorically. Means, I'll give you an example. Have you ever seen someone who's a drug addict? I don't know. Hopefully you haven't had the misfortune to see that. But if you have, you know what I'm talking about, yeah? Someone that's like addicted to drugs, especially like hard drugs, like heroin, cocaine, something like that, crack, something like that. What you'll see is they're no longer they're very, very, very different from what they used to be like, and what they are now is sort of like people would say like a shell of their former self, or like they're like very different. Yeah, they're like completely different from who they used to be. It's sort of as if they have died, and now there is like something else there, yeah, instead, something like that. Yeah. Okay, so in the quotes again, you can have a look. So here, so pleasant, she's happy to be in the room, and she's like laughing about it. She's celebrating being locked in the room by herself, either as a ghost or as an insane person. And then here, this is sort of very key line. It's a very key line. She says, "Now, why should that man have fainted?" So she no longer calls her husband by his name. She doesn't call him John. She says that man, which obviously indicates that, again, she's a different person. She's not who she used to be. And it also indicates that their relationship has changed. Yeah. And also the idea that it's a question, it's a question. And she asks multiple questions in this last scene. This, you could use your sentence structure to show that the question is an indication that, again, she's sort of lost touch with reality. She doesn't know who she is. She doesn't know where she is. Like if you meet somebody who's in shock, or you meet someone who has gone through something insane, or that someone who's like gone through sort of like a hyper anxious state, like they've had some kind of mental breakdown. What you'll notice is it'll be difficult for them to explain anything. Yeah, they'll have like a lot of sort of questions. Who am I? Where am I? Who's this? And it's like an indication of like loss of stability, something like that. Yeah, mental stability, I mean. Okay, so you could go into that. Okay, and also if she's a ghost, that would also make sense. The ghost is sort of if the ghost just appears in the real world, they're gonna have questions: where am I? Who am I? Etc. etc. So it's up to you. Take the either interpretation, psychological or paranormal. Yeah, it's up to you which one you want to take. Okay, and then finally, the last thing is in terms of the reader's like reaction to this. The reader could be shocked, could be afraid. They might be satisfied. They might feel good about this, that John has fainted, because they might see it as some form of revenge for the control. It's up to you. It's up to you. Yeah. So again, read the text, read these quotes which I have laid out for you, analyze them, and produce the analysis which you believe to be true. Just remember, in English, you can have multiple interpretations. The key is just making sure that you base it on the evidence and that you use the techniques correctly. Okay. So again, I'll leave the link for that in the description, in the document in the description. Again, I'm now accepting sort of applications for lessons. And I say applications and not bookings because, like I said, I only take certain students, and you have to kind of demonstrate that you are like respectful and actual very serious about learning, just because my time is like very valuable, and so I don't like to waste it. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, good luck. And if you have any questions, again, feel free to ask. Okay. Take care.